Welcome to my summary of learning for ECI831. Today I'm going to share the highlights and the takeaways from the course with you.
I will first share my blogging takeaways.
The first is uploading videos. So for the first time, I was able to upload videos to YouTube that then I could easily share to my blog. The next is the application to the classroom. I think that using this with students would be such a great opportunity for teaching about feedback, learning how to give feedback, and also learning how to receive feedback. I haven't yet figured out exactly how I would use it, but I appreciate reading the blogs of my colleagues who have tried this out and getting suggestions from there. There's so much value in other students seeing each other's work as well, and I think blogging would be such a great way to do so. Blogging for student assignments would also be an example of open education. As Ellen suggested, if we are putting work into a pile on paper, it's going nowhere. If we're sharing it online, others can see our work. And finally, some changes that I made to my blog in thinking about the PLN and creating that network of professionals, having them come to my blog and figuring out who am I, why am I sharing what I'm sharing, is this something of value to them? So I added that welcome piece, and this is the first page of my blog before you choose where you're going from there. So I feel like that is a very good way to see who I am and what I'm about if this is something that you want to continue to read. My next big takeaway that I'd like to share is about social media activism. This really made me reflect on how I am using social media. I am not much for posting typically. I try to keep things a bit private on my social media. As I'm a pretty quiet person in real life, I want that to be the same way in my social media presence. When I Googled myself, what came up was mostly my Twitter tweets and our conversation about how we can be an activist and be that role model really made me think. So the takeaways that I have and things that I've already started are small gestures can make a big difference. So I have shared other people's posts, not my own words yet, but just sharing things that are important to me and things that I stand for others to see that I am an ally, that I am inclusive, and that these are things that are important to me. On that note, I added my pronouns to my Twitter profile, as well as the fact that I live on Treaty 4 territory, just to make that as a small note for people seeing my Twitter account. And finally, like the little guy in the corner who's just being personally responsible, I hope that to move to being participatory. Next up is open education, and it's the now what for me. I have found a number of Twitter accounts to follow to help gain my knowledge and grow my understanding, and I just need to start sharing my material more often. As a French immersion teacher, resources are harder to come by, so I think when we find something great or make something great, we need to share. Our discussion with Alex Kuros the other night was my first real introduction to AI. My mind is blown. I have lots to learn to figure out how I will use this myself and how I will guide students in the process. There were a lot of great tools shared this semester, and here are a few of my favorites. I used Feedly a lot for my major project. I like how I can gather information and have it all in one place. Katya shared many awesome accessibility tools, and as a learning resource teacher, I found a lot of these to be super helpful. So Spotlight Reader to get rid of all of the extra and just focus on the text is so great. Next is Read Aloud. This is going to be such a great tool for a lot of my students. Again, in French immersion, it's hard to find programs that can read the information in French accurately, so this is a wonderful tool to share with students. Like the Postlight app, this is great to have less distractions, have students focus on what they're to be using on YouTube. And finally, Grammarly. This is a lifesaver for me as I'm not a great speller or editor, so this is going to save me a ton of time, and I wish I would have known about this years ago. TikTok was a platform that I looked into earlier in the semester when we had to choose something that we weren't already using. I have found a place for this. It's not something I will use all the time, but I do love the short videos to help with learning. And finally, Twitter isn't new to me, as I had used it in the last class with Katya, but I'm using it differently now, and the opportunity to connect with educators, to grow myself as an educator, and to learn more. This is a tool I will continue to use often. Thanks, Katya, for all the great information you shared this term. And thank you to my classmates. I really enjoyed reading your blogs and have learned so much from you. Have a great summer, and I look forward to our journeys crossing again. Take care.